We are committed to creating a safe and supportive space for our guests and listeners, and to provide information and tools that will help our listeners understand, manage, and overcome trauma. We understand that the healing journey can bring up challenging emotions. Therefore, we want to warn our audience that certain episodes may contain discussions or stories that could be triggering for some individuals. The content of the podcast is for educational and informative purposes only, and we encourage you to practice self-care and discretion while listening, and to reach out to a trusted support system or professional if you feel overwhelmed and need help on your healing journey. Hello and welcome back to Healing Your Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and our guest today is Alexis Alcalá, and he's got quite a few very interesting titles. And we were just talking a minute ago, and I want to say I am really excited about this podcast because I think he's got lots of great stuff that's going to help people with healing from their trauma. So I'm really excited. So he is a holosomatic therapist. I'm saying that right. And the founder of InnerCamp, also a seasoned breathwork, bodywork, and Tantra teacher. And so tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, let me back up a second. I'm just going to kind of go over to what we're going to kind of talk about. So you're going to share about your healing journey, which is profound. And you're going to also talk about the holosomatic therapy and how it helps survivors release trauma. Love that. And then the transformation of breathwork and how to breathe on a daily basis. I can attest to both of those. But before I get talking about me at all, let me have you share about yourself, and then also more about this.
Hello, Lisa. Thank you for having me on the show. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to share about what we do here at InnerCamp, and also about my healing journey as well. Yeah, because everything started with myself when I realized that I was developing different diseases. I was very unhappy. I had some traumas, and I was really not paying attention to my body. My body was like screaming, asking for attention. And for me, the mind was very important. And I thought that society always told me that I had to earn a lot of money and to get like a position in companies like manager of managers. And for me, I was like looking for this title, looking for this money to find happiness. And at some point, I reached this target, and I had a good salary, I had a good title and everything, but I realized that I wasn't happy. So after all the work, after so many years working, having 2 degrees, university degrees, 1 master diploma, and everything, I realized that, hey, I'm still unhappy. So something's going on. And at some point, I also started to develop different diseases, digestive diseases. I was not able to sleep well. I had insomnia. I was awake until 3, 4 a.m. every night. So I realized that, hey, something's wrong. So from outside, it would look like I'm successful and I'm happy, but inside I feel like broken. I feel like, hey, there's something very wrong with me. And at some point I said, okay, I need to do something. I started to work with a therapist. It was like more cognitive therapy. And I realized that I was able to create all the excuses because I'm very good at creating stories and excuses and everything. And this didn't help me because I was still not happy. I was still not able to fix what was broken. And it's when I found somatic therapies, when I found breathwork, bodywork, so different somatic exercises. It's when I was connecting with my body. And then I realized that, hey, my body has a lot of information. My body is telling me that this is not the job you want. This is not the relationship you want. This is not the environment you want. This is not the country where you should be living right now. So I was able to find so much information. And then I started to change my life completely because of this information. And this is what I see all the time when people come to us, come to InnerCamp, students, they don't know that the body is talking to them. And when they are able, they come to a vulnerable state and they are able to access this information, is so powerful. They realize that, hey, wow, what I'm doing in my life is not good for me. Or this situation or this environment is not good for me. And sometimes very subtle. So it's like you don't need to really do years of therapy to realize that really basic things that, hey, I don't need this in my life. I just need to change something. So this is what I see all the time at InnerCamp with all our participants in retreats, in workshops, also our students. Sometimes it doesn't require like big trainings, or doesn't require like years of therapy, years of exercises. Sometimes it's just it's about a 1 hour session where you realize so much about yourself.
Yeah, and I will say that both breath work and somatic exercises have been a huge help in my life and has absolutely helped me. And it's just more evidence to me that trauma, healing from trauma, talk therapy has its place, but when it comes to healing from trauma, we do need to do more than just the talk therapy. That it is a specialized area, and we do need to do body work, breath work. And I know that I started with the breath work, and that has helped me, especially when I've been in a really high stressful situation. It's the breath work that has helped me calm down and get my body calmed down, as well as meditation. And then I recently, over the last 3 months or so, have been doing some somatic exercises, and I've actually seen my blood pressure come down.
Mm, totally.
So I think that's awesome.
Totally, yes. Yes, sometimes it's just an exercise of 1-2 minutes that you can do, and then you feel a big difference. You feel more mental clarity, you feel more connected to your body. So we don't need to do big things. And sometimes I teach people how to just be in the body, how to breathe properly, because we don't breathe properly on a daily basis. We
Mm-hmm.
breathe through the chest, and then this is creating more anxiety, more
Yep.
more stress in your life, and actually you are breathing in a way that is not healthy for you, and then it's creating a bigger situation, a bigger trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
it's re-traumatizing
It's
yourself.
like you keep it's like you keep your body in the trauma state,
Yeah.
because the breathing, that's really interesting, because excuse me, something that I recognized, and I was aware of it at the time, but I didn't understand it until probably the last 5 years. But back in the day when I was in my survival mode, a lot of times my then husband, I would answer my phone and he'd say, "Gosh, did you just run to the phone?" And I said, "No, I just picked it up. I'm sitting right here." And I always was confused by that. But I realized what I was doing is I wasn't breathing properly.
Mm-hmm.
I was so tight all the time that I'm sure I wasn't breathing. So I always sounded like I was out of breath, or because I was taking such short, shallow breaths. I realize that now, but it totally makes sense. And I've since changed that. But at the time, though, I couldn't figure out why he kept saying that. And now I know.
Yeah, totally. And we are not aware that we have limiting beliefs that are creating what we have, or we have some behaviors and we are not aware of these behaviors. And this is happening, and we are influenced by all these traumas from the past. And sometimes it doesn't take so much or so much effort to release that and to bring more joy to your life, more happiness to your life. And it's really small things that you can do in order to be more in your body, to realize. And sometimes it's just about feelings, to bring more awareness to your body, to what you're feeling. Hey, I'm feeling maybe stressed because I'm getting a call, or I'm receiving an email from my boss, or etc., etc. So just the simple
Mm-hmm.
fact of being present and trying to feel the sensations, the feelings. Hey, why do I feel like this? Wow, there's maybe some information from my body telling me that, hey, this is not your job. This is not, you don't want to be here, because you are afraid every time you receive an email, or every time something's happening, or you need to work on a specific area. So when we stop and when we feel, we can really heal a lot.
So true. So true. And I talk about it all the time on my podcast that in order to do this, you really need to have self-awareness. And what you're saying here, which I think is great, is as we have self-awareness and as we're paying attention to our body and we're paying attention to the stress things that we have, we can catch it much quicker, and we don't get to that point of having to, for me, get escalated to the point where it takes so much to get yourself calmed down, but you can catch it much earlier so that you're not escalating.
Yeah, totally.
So tell us a little bit about your healing journey. Let's start there, and just kind of what brought you here. Because I know we haven't had this conversation, but I'm guessing, of course, that from your trauma, you discovered this and used it for yourself, and then have now you're paying it forward and you're helping
Mhm.
others.
Everything started around 12 years ago, and I'm from Spain. I was living in another country. I was living in Germany, and I'm working for big companies, for big IT companies. And at some point, I discovered that I was broken, or I felt broken. I was very unhappy. And then is when I started to learn more about somatic therapies. At some point, I also was living in Thailand. I was there doing many different practices, and I found breathwork. And this was the most powerful tool I had discovered, because I was able to see so much in just one session. I was able to see myself in my mom's womb. I was able to accept myself, accept other people. I was able to forgive even my family, because I had some issues with my family. So I experienced so much, and I was able to feel so much. It was a very transpersonal experience. And since that, I realized that, hey, breathwork is very powerful, and anything related to the body, somatic therapies, body work is very powerful as well. And this is when I started to do all these techniques. Um, I had brought really many different things, traumas from my childhood. I try to be always perfectionist. I will try to always be perfect in my career to earn more money. My belief was all the time that I need to earn more money. I need to be manager of managers, and then people would appreciate me more. Like, yeah, many cases, I get many students coming with the same story. I was working in IT, I was working as a manager or marketing manager, whatever. And then at some point, I was burn out. And with this burnout, I realized that I was unhappy. This is what happened to me. My role model was very different to what I wanted, and to what my understanding was very different to my body, what my body was asking me to do. Thanks to breathwork and bodywork, I started to realize that, hey, um, you are not really paying attention to what is happening. You don't know what you want, and now is an opportunity to understand what you want. And also, it's not about, because sometimes people, I see people to not be completely healed. It is okay to have shadows. I can accept my shadows. I can forgive myself for having shadows, for not being perfect, for having traumas, and it is okay to have traumas. And the understanding of, I'm okay with my traumas, with my shadows, also changed my perspective. Was completely different. It was like, okay, now I can live. I have the right to live. I have the right to have imperfections. I have the right to be wrong sometimes. And this was a new beginning for me, because now I know
It,
that I'm still in the journey, and the journey is going to be forever. But I know that I can heal step by step, and there are always new layers. I'm happy discovering new layers about myself, new layers about ancestors, about previous generations, about what my parents told me when I was a kid, etc., etc. And I can enjoy now the process.
and there's a lot of freedom in that too, isn't
Yeah,
there? Because
totally.
that's what I'm hearing when you were describing that. When you can, it's okay if I'm not perfect. There's a lot of freedom just in that statement alone, of giving yourself the grace of not having to be perfect. And for me, I used to be very much a perfectionist. And of course it was on the outside. And now I just laugh at it. I can
Mm.
laugh at myself. It's not that important to me. And there's so much freedom in that. That's awesome. I love this. So tell us a little more about the breath work, the body work, and then we can get into the holosomatic therapy and kind of how it works and how it helps.
Mm. Yeah, breathwork I studied with different schools, different teachers, very popular teachers. And then right now, our body work is a combination of different techniques, combining pranayama, the old breathwork from the yogis, but also conscious connected breathwork. That is what is now more famous, like holotropic breathwork, rebirthing breathwork, or transformational breathwork. So it's a combination of different techniques. What we
Okay.
try to do is to create like a more therapeutical framework. So it's not like just coming to a session and then trying one method or one specific breathing rhythm. It's more about, okay, finding the right rhythm for you to heal this or that,
Okay.
or to maybe help you with anxiety, or maybe release trauma, or maybe raising your energy, or maybe finding your superpowers and then connecting to you, for example, unlocking your solar plexus, whatever. So it's a framework. It's like different techniques all together, so that you can discover, you can use what you need depending on your needs. So this is what we have. This is what the holosomatic therapy or holosomatic breathwork is right now. And bodywork is also a combination of different bodywork techniques. It's also somatic therapies. It's more focused on the
Mhm.
body, focusing on understanding the connection between trauma and the effects in the body. So, for example, if I feel certain pressure on my chest, on my belly, if I have those digestion problems, what is the connection between these and traumas from the past? limiting beliefs, etc. So what we try to do is to understand the connection between the past and now the present, and the physical blockages, emotional and energetic blockages that you have right now in your body. So it's like a more straightforward method to understand the body, to release it, and to continue with your life, and to bring more joy and more pleasure. Because it's not only about releasing and crying and yelling, because sometimes what we see in somatic therapies is that people just came here to suffer. And there's
Oh,
not only
yeah.
suffer, it's also pleasure.
Yeah.
It's about bringing joy. It's
Yeah.
about leaving the session. But after you leave the session, you feel happy. You feel lighter. You feel like, hey, this is a new
Mhm.
life. I can enjoy life. And it's not about crying because I discovered trauma from my childhood, for example. So this is
Yeah.
what we try to do with our holosomatic bodywork.
I like that. That sounds, when you said that, I was like, oh, that sounds really nice. That you know, because one of the statistics I bring up is a lot of women who have been sexually abused, it was between the ages of 13 and 17, and they suffered for 40 years before they even opened their mouth and shared that. So imagine all those years of suffering, and therapy, you don't always want it to be more trauma and more pain, and know that there's a time and a place for that, but not always. And so that's nice that you can walk away and feel lighter. And one of the things that you brought up earlier, well, two things that I wanted to bring up. One, explain to us what a tantra teacher is, and then and then the other is well, let's go with that first.
Yeah, there is a big misconception about Tantra. Many people think that Tantra is about sexuality, but sexuality is only 5% of Tantra. Tantra is let's say, like a philosophy of a way of living your life. For me, it's a way of living my life. It's something that is coming together with yoga. It was developed in Hinduism, and also with one of the branches of Buddhism as well. So it is really old. And it is a way of understanding life. It is a way of understanding energy. For me, it's a way to understand that we are masculine and feminine energy. It's also to practice different principles. One of the principles is the consecration, to see everything as sacred. For example, the cup of tea that you are drinking right now, you really see it as something sacred. You enjoy it. It's like mindful drinking, mindful eating. Is being mindful,
Mm,
be more present. Is to see everything around you as something sacred. Also, transfiguration is another principle. Transfiguration is about seeing also the sacredness in other people. Is to see everyone as gods, goddesses, and not just you see
mm,
as human bodies and that's all, or just flesh. It's about seeing that there is a soul in this body. So it's not just a body, and it's about reaching this respect. Maybe there are always shadows, and it's always hard to really, maybe if you get angry with someone or you are arguing with your partner, so sometimes it's challenging. This is something that you need to practice, but somehow it can help you to find or to connect from soul to soul. It's like what we say in yoga, namaste. My soul is greeting your soul, my light is connecting to your light. So it's something similar. So for me, Tantra is a way of living my life. Sometimes I get lost like any human being. Sometimes I know
mm-hmm.
I have my shadows and then I do mistakes. But then I came back to Tantra and I say, okay, I know what I want in life. I want to connect with this energy. I want to connect with this on this level with other people. I want to come back to my place, to my home, to my body. It's also about accepting your body. It's not about, because some people might misuse Tantra just to maybe have more sexuality, have more sex, but this is not really about Tantra. Tantra is about coming back to your body, it's respecting your body, seeing your body as a temple, to accept your body, to
Mm,
love your body, to say, okay, this is my body is perfect. Maybe I have a belly and it doesn't matter. My belly is beautiful and I enjoy my body just as it is. And we do, for example, meditations on just enjoying the present moment, enjoying the body. And seeing also the darkness as something as part of the human experience. You know that in many religions and spiritual systems, darkness or shadows are something to deny. It's like, no, 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 you need to really get rid of that. Shadows are not good, darkness is not good, you need to pray or whatever. So in Tantra, we say, hey, this is human. You're okay with that. You accept it. Of course, it's not about being lazy and saying, okay, I don't want to work on my shadows. It's about accepting my shadows. And from there, after
mm.
I'm aware that I have those shadows, I can work on them. This is Tantra. And it's not a
It
religion.
sounds like it's a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a religion, it's not a spiritual system. It can be like a spiritual system, but it's not like a set of like rules or something like that. This is why I love Tantra, because it gives you the permission to just be you. You don't need to be someone else. They don't need you to do this or that, like in a cult or something similar. So it's like you have the freedom to be yourself, just yourself.
It sounds like you reconnect with yourself. And in your information that you sent over to me, excuse me, one of the things you talked about was disassociating with yourself. And so it sounds like what this does is it helps ground you and helps you be more present within yourself, which is so important in the healing process, right?
Totally, yes. Yeah, it is very important.
So the other thing that you had mentioned earlier, and I wanted to touch on it, which I think is really important, and I think we're getting more evidence of this, is just how the fact that trauma or abuse unhealed can bring diseases in our body. And I've actually got a couple of experts I'm going to be having on about this very subject, but I know that is a thing, like especially digestive issues. There's also autoimmune diseases that come from having unhealed trauma or abuse. And so if you want to touch on that a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah, there is more and more research, and the science is already supporting us. And because they can see the connection between trauma and limiting beliefs as well, and diseases. So, for example, in my case, I started with some digestion problems, like I became a celiac person, also intolerant to lactose, and some problems from that moment after a few years of being so unhappy. There are many cases, we see many cases at InnerCamp of people coming. Even you can see it physically. You can see people who have a problem physically, more inflammation, for example, they have very strong allergy. And then after doing those practices, the effects disappear. You don't see it there anymore. Of course, there are cases that cannot be really healed, or they are in a very advanced stage and then nothing can be done.
Right.
But in many cases, breathwork and somatic therapies can really help those cases. We cannot say, okay, if you do breathwork, you're going to heal this or that disease. We cannot say that because there is still not enough research and science supporting us, and we still don't know enough. But we can see that many people are healing themselves with those practices. There are many cases of people with chronic pain, chronic back pain, problems like a lot of inflammation, pain in one, for example, knee, or pain for 10, 20 years in one specific rib, and they come to just one session. And after the session, they say, this is the first time after 10, 20 years that I don't feel this pain anymore. Maybe it's coming back in a few weeks or whatever, but if you can really reduce the pain for in just one session, it is really powerful. And it is possible. And you know that sometimes we consume too many tablets, too many medicaments, and sometimes it's not so needed. Of course, there are situations where we need medication, but it's much easier than that.
Yeah, no, I know that to be true. And I think that's what is so encouraging these days is there are ways that we can heal from trauma, or if we can't necessarily completely heal, we can manage it, and it's not managing us. We can control it. It's not controlling us. And I find that so encouraging. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get my podcast out there, is to get this information out there to help listeners, because so many people suffer for so many years. And there's ways of us being able to work through this and avoid, like if people could start doing breath work now, if people could start doing somatic exercises now and avoid having those diseases, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
That would be awesome. And so I know you mentioned that we don't breathe right on a daily basis, and I know that to be true. I'm evidence of that. So give us a clue, like, what does that mean? Like, what are we doing wrong? I know for me, I just was tight all the time. I was just real tense all the time. So that of course showed up in all parts of my body, but especially in my breathing. And I have to make myself aware of it now. If there's any kind of stressful situation, I automatically go to that place and I have to make myself aware of it. And I do some deep breathing exercises to get myself to let go and, release that tension. But tell us I know you have much more information than that.
Yeah, so we are used to do shallow breathing, so we just inhale the minimum amount of oxygen to survive, and also we breathe through the chest. When we are breathing through the chest, normally what we are doing is we are awakening or activating the sympathetic nervous system, so we feel more stressed. So imagine that you are stressed, you're going to feel even more stressed, more anxious. So on a daily basis, if you breathe in this way, you just help to feel worse on a daily basis. So in
Mm-hmm.
order to breathe the right way of breathing in, also the way to breathe to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and to feel more relaxed is the belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. This is bringing the air more to the lower part of the lungs so that you have more capacity, you can relax more, and it's connected also to the vagus nerve. So when we are doing belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, we can activate the vagus nerve, we can relax more, we can um, feel more centered, more grounded as well. And sometimes the simple fact of imagine you receive a call, you receive an email from your boss, you feel stressed. The simple fact of breathing through the belly is going to change your whole sensations, your state in that moment. So if we learn how to breathe through the belly and we try to bring in also more oxygen, more air, and it can be more calm, then it's going to help us to feel more relaxed on a daily basis. And the breath is very often supporting us to feel more stressed. So it is
Mm-hmm.
possible that with the breath, we can change the autonomous nervous system. We can influence the autonomous nervous system. So we can influence our state. So this is the way
Right,
we
right.
should be breathing.
It makes sense because if I'm walking around tense all the time and I'm not breathing right, I'm telling my brain I'm in a constant state of anxiety, fear, whatever it is, or in my case, survival mode. And then heaven forbid something happen that would really send me through the roof. Then I'm really not breathing. Then I'm holding my breath.
Right. And also it's influencing, for example, your shoulders. So your shoulders are going to be higher. You're going to have maybe problems with your back. So it's going
Mm-hmm.
to influence everything, the whole body. And this is when you're going to develop new diseases, problems, pain, etc., just because you are not breathing properly. And also we see with people who come with big traumas, with PTSD, complex PTSD, that the way they are
Mm-hmm.
breathing through the chest. So it's very clear that people who can with big traumas, they are breathing through the chest. As soon as they start breathing through the
Yeah.
belly, they can relax a little bit.
So can you show us just one exercise? Like let's do like let's say something happens, I get a phone call and now I'm anxious and I need to get myself calmed down so I can think straight. So what would be a really quick breathing exercise I could do?
So if you want something very, very quick, could be just sitting down in a comfortable position and then to place one hand on the belly, for example, the right hand on the belly, left hand on the chest, and then to try to bring more air to the belly area to expand your belly with every inhalation. And then you breathe through the nose. And try to make your inhalation a bit longer than usual. And then you can do, for example, 5, 10 breaths like this. Just bring the air to the belly area. If you're expanding your chest, it's not a problem at all. The target is to expand your belly. There will be people who have what we call paradoxical breathing, and they do the opposite. When they inhale, they contract the belly, and then when they exhale, they open, they expand the belly. This should be corrected, actually. This is a very simple exercise. And if you have 1 minute, 90 seconds, and you want to do something
Mm-hmm.
much more powerful, I'm going to show you another exercise that is really, really powerful. It's the next, is what we call
Okay.
the 20 connected breaths. It is 20 breaths. And then we're going to do 4 rounds. In each round, we do 4 short breaths, 1 long breath. Through the nose, everything. So you close the eyes, and it's going to be, I'm going to show you 1 round. It's going to be like this. This is 1 round of 5 breaths. So in total, we do 4 rounds in this way.
Okay.
Do you want to do it now,
Okay.
Lisa?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll try
let's
it.
do
I'll
it.
try it.
So
Yeah.
let's find a
Yeah.
comfortable sitting position. Let's close the eyes.
Get comfortable here. Okay.
Closing the eyes, relaxing your shoulders, and then let's breathe together. Here we go. coming back to a normal, natural breath, keeping your eyes closed, and just feel the sensations in your body. Just feel your body. And when you feel ready, you can come back, opening your eyes.
I cheated and opened up sooner, but I'll tell you, it's slowed down my breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the right, but I've noticed that. And I've always been taught when you do the breathing exercises, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. So you do it a little bit different. But I feel calm. I do feel calmer. I do. So why is it you do it a little bit different?
There are many different types of exercises. For example, this one is really good when you feel stressed, when you feel anger, when you want to get centered. For example, you're in the supermarket in the line and then you feel stressed. You are, for example, in your office and then you feel stressed because you need to finish a task. You go to the toilet, you close the door, and then you do this exercise for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then you're going to feel very relaxed. You are going to have more mental clarity, and then you're going to come more to the present moment. So this is always what I do before recording a podcast, coming to a workshop, in retreats, etc. And then the one you mentioned, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, is very good for trauma release. Because when we are exhaling through the mouth, we are making also sounds. We are bringing also movement to the body. This is really great for trauma release. And then when we want to activate more ourselves, we are going to breathe through the mouth. That is a very intense, very activating breathing technique that should be done with a facilitator, of course, because you might face traumas, you might face situations and stuff, and you want to have someone next to you to support you in the process.
Right, exactly. That's really interesting. But I definitely feel calmer. I am going to add that to, because I have breathing exercises, different ones, and that is one I'm absolutely going to add. That is, that's interesting. So you say to do that for like 2 minutes, or a minute or two.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 minute, 90 seconds. And if you feel too stressed and you say, hey, I need more, even more, instead of 4 rounds, you do 8 rounds. I don't recommend you to do more than 12 rounds because then it's going to be 4 or 5 minutes of very intense breathing. And then you might start facing traumas, etc., or stuff that you don't want to face without a facilitator. But up to 12 rounds, this is completely okay. You can do it at any time. If you are driving, please don't do it. If you are in the water in a swimming pool, please don't do it. But if
pull over.
So if you are in the air, so yeah, you are in a place where you can sit down, you can do it. Even in the supermarket, sometimes I do it maybe 2, 3, 4 rounds. Whereas I'm waiting if I feel like stressed because maybe the queue is very slow or whatever, and I feel like, hey, what is going on? I feel stressed. I feel angry, for example, and I can do it.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. I've got another question though that came up. So what is the difference between holosomatic therapy and somatic therapy? Because somatic exercises, I guess, because that's what I do. I do somatic exercises. And like I said, it has really helped. They're like 12 minutes long. They're not very long. But they have been actually profound in lowering my blood pressure. I know it is because there's a difference in my blood pressure started going down after about a month of me doing them. So I know that's the only thing I did different. So tell us a little bit about that and what the difference is, are they the same? It's just you have your own type.
Holosomatic is our brand, and somatic means related to the body. So when you do a somatic exercise, it means that you are working with your body. We call it holosomatic therapy, and it's coming holo is coming like the meaning is like whole. Like we consider all the parts holistic. So in our therapy, we do cognitive work, but we also do somatic work. So we try to understand not only, for example, I do an exercise with my body and I feel stress or I feel trauma, whatever, and I try to release it. Not only that, we try to understand why I have this trauma and what can I do from a cognitive perspective. So it's like a holistic framework, a more holistic way of dealing with traumas, with dealing with blockages, etc.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. Got it. So it is exercises, but you're adding more to it with the breath work and helping them to release.
Yeah.
Well, I highly encourage anybody. Yes, definitely do the breath work and the somatic. Yeah, it's been a big help for me for sure. So what is it you would like to leave our listeners with? It's a question I leave with all my guests.
I think it would be if you just learn how to be more present in your body, and then you give yourself permission to feel and to say, I'm, for example, in a stressful situation, I'm feeling angry, or I'm arguing with my partner, with someone, and then just stop and to say, okay, I'm going to feel my emotions, my sensations. I'm going to feel my body. I'm going to breathe that. Then this is going to change your life. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a new beginning, because you
Yeah.
are going to be able to control, and you're going to be able to surrender. You're going to be able to change that.
It's true, because the belief system I know that I used to have is I can't cry. I shouldn't cry, because if I do, I might not be able to stop. I would lose control. And I have since learned that is not true. And I allow myself and actually kind of make myself feel the emotions. And it is somewhat new to me, but it's been freeing. And I haven't lost control yet. So there's that. So, all right. And so, one last question. If our listeners wanted to reach out to you and learn more about InnerCamp or possibly join, how would our guests be able to reach you?
So they can reach us, for example, on the website innercamp.com, or also on Instagram, InnerCamp as well is the account.
Okay, so we'll have all that information as well for people to be able to look at. But thank you so much. This has been awesome. And I want to tell our listeners, reach out and learn more about this, because those two things have been profound for me in my healing and helped me also manage myself going forward. And it's been a really life changer for me. So I would say absolutely reach out.
Thank you, Lisa.
So thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.